Welcome to The Star, The Journey, and The Gift, a Christmas mini-series that will take you on the most extraordinary journey in biblical human history. My name is Christy, your host for this third episode called The Palace of Deception, Hearts Exposed by Light. As this 5-episode mini-series unfolds, we will trace the steps of the three Magi, men stirred by a heavenly sign. One night they beheld a star unlike any other, bright, unwavering, declaring the birth of a king. With conviction, they prepared for a journey that would alter biblical history. Leaving behind their homes and comforts, the three Magi gathered their treasures and set out across deserts and kingdoms. Pilgrims, missionaries, chosen by God. These three Magi followed the light with hearts fixed on the promise awaiting them in Bethlehem. If you have been walking with us through this incredible journey, you know that our three Magi, Melchior, Caspar, and Balthazar, have traveled over 1,000 miles following a star that appeared at the moment of the Messiah's birth. You have felt the desert sand between your toes, tasted the dust on your lips, shared their wonder as that celestial beacon guided them night after night across impossible distances. You have experienced their joy as Jerusalem's walls first came into view, that golden city rising from the hills like a promise fulfilled. You have felt their confusion when instead of celebration, they found fear. Instead of joy, they encountered suspicion. The very mention of a newborn king sent ripples of anxiety through the holy city, and you felt that anxiety settle in your own chest like a cold stone. But today everything changes. Today, we cross a threshold that will haunt the next 30 years of history. We are going to walk with them through the bronze gates of Herod's palace, where they expect to find answers, where they expect to find a fellow king eager to honor the newborn Messiah. What they will discover instead, what you will witness alongside them, is a truth that will make your blood run cold and your heart race with fear. You are about to encounter the stark contrast between earthly power and heavenly authority, between a king who rules through terror and a king who will serve through love. Feel your palms growing damp as we approach those palace gates. Sense the way your breathing becomes shallow as armed guards study you with calculating eyes. This encounter is not just a historical moment. It is a preview of another scene that will unfold 30 years later, when that same baby will stand before another ruler, when truth will again expose the darkness in human hearts, when earthly power will once again feel threatened by heavenly authority. You are about to witness the moment when innocence meets evil, when seekers of truth encounter the master of deception, when three wise men realize they have walked into a trap that could cost them their lives, and worse, could cost the life of the child they have traveled so far to worship. Your heart is pounding now, isn't it? Good. It should be. Because what you are about to experience will change everything you thought you knew about power, about worship, about the price of following God's call. So take my hand. Feel it trembling slightly, because I know what is coming. Close your eyes. Let the sounds of first-century Jerusalem fade away, and step with me into a moment that will make you question everything. A moment that will show you what evil looks like when it wears a crown. This is the turning point. This is where the journey becomes dangerous. This is where following the star could cost everything. Are you ready? Because there's no turning back now. The three Magi expected to find a king in a palace. Instead, they found a tyrant who was threatened by a baby. They expected to find celebration in Jerusalem. But instead, they found fear. They saw a king who would save. They found a king who would slaughter. Your mouth is dry as you stand with Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar at the massive bronze gates of Herod's palace. Feel how your hands shake slightly as the weight of the moment presses down on you, like the heavy air before a thunderstorm. These gates, twice the height of a man, carved with Roman eagles whose bronze eyes seem to watch you, whose talons seem ready to strike, should be opening to welcome news of the Messiah's birth. Instead, the guards' eyes are cold, calculating, studying you like wolves sizing up prey. You can feel their gaze like ice water in your veins, can sense the violence that lurks just beneath their disciplined exterior. These are not ceremonial guards. These are killers in uniform, men who have learned to sleep well after following orders that would haunt ordinary souls. Behind these limestone walls, covered in that golden Jerusalem stone that should glow like honey in the afternoon sun, should be joy. The birth of the promised one should have this entire city dancing in the streets, should have every temple bell ringing, should have every voice lifted in praise. Instead, you feel like you are approaching a tomb, like you are walking towards something that will drain the very life from your bones. The gates swing open with a groan that echoes off the courtyard walls, a sound like the earth itself protesting, like creation crying out against what is about to unfold. Feel that sudden temperature change as you step from Jerusalem's dusty warmth into the palace's marble coolness. Your breath catches in your throat. It is not refreshing. It is the cold of death. The chill of a place where warmth has been systematically murdered. Your sandals click against floors so polished they mirror your reflection like still water, creating the unsettling sensation that you are walking on the surface of a dark lake that could swallow you whole at any moment. Everything here screams wealth and power. Tapestries from distant lands hang like captured sunsets on walls that tower above you. Their rich purples and golds telling stories of conquest and tribute, of nations crushed beneath Herod's heel. Golden menorahs, each one worth more than most people see in a lifetime, cast dancing shadows that seem to move with malevolent life, as if the very light here has been corrupted, twisted into something that serves darkness rather than illuminating truth. But you feel it immediately. What's missing? Joy. Peace. That presence of God that you felt so strongly following that star. That divine warmth that has been your constant companion. It feels muted here, distant, as if something in this place pushes against the very light you have been following. The Holy Spirit's voice, which has been your constant guide, seems to whisper more quietly within these walls. And that silence, it terrifies you more than any threat. Palace servants lead you through the corridors that seem to stretch forever, lined with statues that make your skin crawl. Roman emperors with their cold marble eyes that seem to follow your movement. Greek gods frozen in poses of power and passion that speak of appetites that devour rather than satisfy. Egyptian pharaohs whose stone faces have watched empires rise and fall and learned to care for none of them. This is Herod's pantheon, his declaration that he stands among the gods of history. But you have seen the true God's star blazing in the heavens, and these carved stones feel like shadows, like echoes of something that was never real to begin with, like lies carved in marble and polished until they shine. Feel your stomach churning as the scent hits you. Expensive perfumes from Arabia that cannot quite mask the stench of fear. Oils from distant India that cannot cover the smell of corruption. Incense from the far reaches of the empire that cannot hide the underlying odor of death that permeates this place like rot in beautiful fruit. Your footsteps echo hollowly in these vast spaces, and the sound makes you want to run. Makes you want to flee back to the desert where the only sounds were wind and your own breathing and the whispered prayers of your companions. This palace could house hundreds, but it feels deserted, as if life itself has slowly drained away, leaving only the shell of magnificence wrapped around a core of absolute emptiness. Courtiers line the corridors, men in fine linen with oiled beards and perfumed hair. Women draped in silk with jewels that catch the lamplight like trapped stars. But look at their eyes. Really look. And you will see the truth. They are terrified. Every smile is forced, every gesture calculated, every word measured against the possibility that it might be their last. These are not nobles. They are prisoners in golden chains, survivors in a court where survival depends on never, ever letting your guard down. You see a young scribe whose hands shake as he carries scrolls, whose eyes dart constantly to the shadows as if expecting death to step out at any moment. There is a court musician whose fingers tremble on his lyre strings, who flinches at every unexpected sound. A servant girl hurries past with wine, and you notice how she keeps her eyes downcast, how she moves like someone who has learned that being noticed can be fatal. His Majesty will see you now, announces a court official, whose smile never reaches his eyes, whose voice carries the hollow ring of a man who has learned to speak words he does not mean, to show emotions he does not feel. He is dressed in fine linen, his beard oiled and perfumed, but his hands shake slightly as he gestures toward the throne room doors. And you realize that even Herod's most trusted servants live in constant fear of their master's displeasure. Feel your heart hammering against your ribs as the throne room doors swing open. Massive cedar panels inlaid with ivory and gold, depicting scenes of Herod's victories, his building projects, his reign of terror disguised as triumph. But as you step across the threshold, your legs feel weak. Your breathing becomes shallow because you are not just entering a royal audience chamber. You are stepping into the presence of evil itself. The throne room is vast, designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. Marble columns soar toward a ceiling painted with scenes of conquest, their surfaces so polished they seem to glow with their own cold light. Braziers burn with expensive oils, filling the air with smoke that makes your eyes water and your throat burn. The floor is a masterpiece of inlaid marble, depicting a map of Herod's kingdom, with Jerusalem at the center, as if the entire world exists only to serve his ambitions. But it is not the architecture that makes your blood freeze. It is the people. Guards line the walls like statues, but these are not ceremonial soldiers. These are Herod's personal executioners. Men whose armor bears the stains of countless interrogations, whose eyes hold the flat, dead stare of those who have learned to kill without feeling. Their hands rest casually on sword hilts worn smooth by use, and you can feel their readiness to act, their eagerness to demonstrate their loyalty through violence. Court officials cluster near the throne like vultures around carrion. Men who have built their careers on anticipating Herod's moods, on knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, on understanding that their survival depends entirely on their ability to please a madman. They watch you with the calculating gaze of those who are always looking for someone else to throw to the wolves, someone else to blame when things go wrong. And there, in the shadows behind the throne, you glimpse them, Herod's spies, his informants, the men who bring him whispered reports of every conversation in every corner of his kingdom. They are dressed like servants, like scribes, like ordinary courtiers, but their eyes never stop moving, never stop cataloging, never stop gathering information that could mean life or death for anyone who crosses their path. The king sits elevated on a throne of carved ivory and gold, each surface telling a story of conquest and control, each jewel representing a life taken, a rival eliminated, a threat removed. Purple robes edged with golden thread flow around him like spilled wine, the color of royalty and blood intermingled in a way that seems almost prophetic. But it is his face that makes your soul recoil in horror. This is not the countenance of a man at peace. This is not the face of someone who sleeps well at night, who wakes refreshed, who looks forward to each new day. This is the face of a man who has stared into the abyss so long that the abyss has stared back into him, who has embraced darkness so completely that light physically pains him. Herod the Great, builder of temples, conqueror of enemies, the man who has ruled Judea for over 30 years through a combination of cunning, brutality, and sheer paranoid determination. He sits before you, and you can see the weight of every sleepless night, every murdered rival, every eliminated threat carved into the lines around his eyes like scars on his soul. His gaze darts constantly, never resting, suspicious of every shadow, every servant, every visitor, every breath of air that might carry whispers of conspiracy. Those jeweled fingers tap nervously against the throne's armrest in a rhythm that speaks of anxiety, of a man that never stops calculating threats, never stops imagining betrayals, never stops planning the next execution. When he smiles, and he does smile as you approach, that terrible, practiced expression spreading across his face like oil on water. It is the smile of a serpent who has spotted prey, the smile of a predator who enjoys the hunt as much as the kill. It is a smile that has been the last thing many people have seen, a smile that promises pain disguised as pleasure. Welcome, welcome, noble travelers from the east. His voice fills the throne room like poisoned honey, smooth as silk, but carrying undertones that make your skin crawl, that make you want to run screaming from this place of death and deception. Listen carefully. There is menace there, like distant thunder promising a storm of blood and terror. I hear you seek a king. How interesting. The word interesting hangs in the air like incense, but it smells of death, taste of murder, carries the promise of violence that will make the massacre of innocents seem like a gentle mercy. Feel your knees threatening to buckle as the full weight of your situation crashes down around you. You are not in the presence of a fellow seeker of truth. You are standing before the enemy of everything good, everything pure, everything holy. You are face to face with a man who would kill God himself if he could figure out how to do it. And you have just told him exactly where to find the newborn king. Melchior steps forward, and you feel his courage like a lifeline in this sea of darkness. This weathered astronomer who has read the movements of stars and planets for decades, who has studied the ancient prophecies until they were written on his heart, speaks with the dignity of one who has spent his life seeking truth rather than power. But you can feel his uncertainty now and can sense how this place has shaken him. His weathered hands, usually so steady as they trace constellations and calculate celestial movements, tremble slightly as he gestures toward his companions. Your Majesty, we have followed his star from our homeland. We come to worship the one born King of the Jews. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. Watch Herod's face. Feel your own blood turn to ice as you see his reaction. See how his smile falters for just a moment. How his knuckles whiten as his grip tightens on the throne's armrest until you think the ivory might crack. How his eyes narrow almost imperceptibly, like a snake focusing on its prey before the strike. This aging king, who has murdered his own wife, Mariamne, in a fit of jealous rage, who has executed his own sons, Alexander and Aristobulus, when he suspected them of plotting against him, who has eliminated his own mother-in-law, his brother-in-law, anyone who might threaten his crown. This monster wearing royal robes is threatened by a baby he has never seen and a village he has barely noticed, born to parents whose names he does not even know. The silence that follows stretches like a bowstring pulled taut, and in that silence you can hear everything. The soft rustle of expensive fabric as Herod shifts on his throne like a predator preparing to pounce. The almost inaudible clink of armor as guards adjust their positions and prepare for orders that might come at any moment. The whispered prayers of the Magi as they sense the spiritual darkness pressing against them like a physical weight, trying to crush their souls. You feel like you cannot breathe. The air itself seems poisoned, thick with malice and the promise of violence. Your heart hammers so hard you are sure everyone in the room can hear it. Can you see your terror written across your face like words on parchment? A king, you say? Herod's laugh sounds like breaking glass, sharp and dangerous, like the sound a blade makes when it is drawn from its sheath. How delightful. And where might this king be found? Notice how he says the word king. Like it tastes bitter on his tongue, like it's a personal insult, like it's a declaration of war. In Herod's world, there is room for only one king, and he is sitting on the throne before you, surrounded by the instruments of death and the servants of darkness. Feel the terror rising in your throat as you realize the full scope of what you have walked into. This is not a royal audience. It is an interrogation. This is not a fellow monarch eager to honor a newborn king. This is a predator who has just learned about a threat that must be eliminated. The Magi exchange glances, and you feel their confusion like a physical blow to your chest. They expected celebration, not interrogation. They expected worship, not this cold calculation behind royal eyes that seem to strip away their very souls. They expected to find a kingdom preparing for its Messiah, not a court that seems to have never heard the news, or worse, a court that has heard and chosen to ignore it. We had hoped your majesty might know, Caspar says carefully, his diplomat's training evident in every measured word, but you can hear the tremor underneath, the growing realization that they have made a terrible mistake. Surely the birth of the promised Messiah would be celebrated throughout Jerusalem? The silence that follows is deafening, suffocating, like being buried alive in a tomb of marble and gold. You can hear your own heartbeat thundering in your ears, can feel the Holy Spirit's warning growing from a whisper to a scream, can sense the danger closing around you like a net woven from shadows and malice. In that silence, you realize the terrible truth that is written across Herod's face in lines of fury and fear. He did not know. The King of the Jews did not know that the King of the Jews had been born. No messenger brought word, no celebration reached his ears, no priest thought to inform him that the prophecies he has heard recited 1,000 times had finally been fulfilled. And that terrifies him more than any army at his gates, more than any conspiracy in his court, more than any threat he has ever faced, because this is a threat he did not see coming, could not control, could not negotiate with or bribe or intimidate into submission. Messiah, Herod repeats slowly, and the word sounds like a curse falling from his lips, like poison he is forced to taste. He rolls it around in his mouth as if trying to understand its flavor, its weight, its power to destroy everything he has built. Yes, of course. How could I not know of such momentous news? But you can see the truth written across his face in lines deeper than any sculptor could carve. He did not know. The religious leaders did not think to tell him. The people did not come running with the news. In a kingdom where his spies report every whispered conversation, where his informants know every secret, where his network of fear reaches into every home and heart, the birth of the Messiah happened without his knowledge or permission. For a man who has built his reign on knowing everything, controlling everything, eliminating every threat before it can grow strong enough to challenge him, this is more than embarrassing. It is a declaration of war by the universe itself. Feel your legs trembling as Herod claps his hands sharply, the sound echoing through the throne room like a whip crack, like the sound of bones breaking, like the first note of a funeral dirge. Bring me the chief priests and scribes. Immediately. The guards move with the fluid precision of men who have carried out such orders countless times before, and within minutes, religious leaders file into the throne room like lambs being led to slaughter. They are dressed in their finest robes, phylacteries bound to their foreheads and arms like badges of their devotion, prayer shawls draped over their shoulders like shields that will offer no protection against Herod's wrath. These are the scholars, the theologians, the men who have devoted their lives to studying Scripture. They can recite prophecies from memory, can debate the finest points of law until the sun sets and rises again, and can tell you exactly what every ancient prophet said about the coming Messiah. Their scrolls smell of fresh ink and new parchment, so different from Melchior's ancient text worn smooth by loving hands and countless readings under desert stars. But as they file in, you see the truth in their faces. They are terrified. These are men of learning, of position, of religious authority. But in Herod's presence, they become nothing more than servants summoned by a master they fear more than they fear God. Tell our distinguished guest. Herod's voice drips with false courtesy, each word carefully chosen to sound gracious while carrying an undertone of barely controlled violence. Where the Christ is to be born? The chief priest does not hesitate. He cannot afford to. His answer comes quick and sure, recited with the desperate confidence of a man who knows his life depends on getting every word exactly right. In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people, Israel." Perfect knowledge, flawless recitation, word perfect accuracy, delivered with the mechanical precision of men who have turned the living word of God into dead letters on a page. But look at their faces. Feel your heart breaking as you see the truth. Do you see any excitement? Any joy that the prophecy they have studied their entire lives is finally being fulfilled? any eagerness to go and see this miracle with their own eyes, to witness the culmination of everything they have claimed to believe? These men know exactly where their Messiah was born, and they could not care less. They know the scriptures by heart, but the scriptures have not touched their hearts. They can quote every prophecy about the coming king, but they have no desire to meet him. They have spent their lives studying about God, but they have forgotten how to seek God. They have become experts in the law, but strangers to the lawgiver. Herod dismisses them with a wave of his jeweled hand, and you watch them file out like ghosts, like men who have sold their souls so gradually they did not notice when the transaction was complete. These are men who will not walk 6 miles to see the king they have studied their whole lives, while you have traveled 1,000 miles to worship a king you have never seen. You find yourself in the shadows of Herod's private chamber, a place few have seen and fewer have left alive to describe. The room reeks of paranoia and expensive oils that cannot mask the stench of fear. Heavy tapestries muffle sound, ensuring that whatever happens here stays here. The only light comes from a single brazier, casting dancing shadows that make the king's face look even more demonic than usual. Herod paces like a caged beast, his purple robe swishing with each agitated step. His jeweled fingers clench and unclench as he processes what he has just learned. The silence is suffocating, broken only by the soft crackle of burning coals and the king's labored breathing. Across from him, standing near the wall with the practiced composure of a man who has survived decades of political intrigue, stands the chief priest. His fine robes, which looked so impressive in the throne room, now seem inadequate protection against the king's wrath. Despite his outward calm, sweat beads on his weathered forehead, and his hands tremble slightly as he clutches a scroll, the very prophecy he recited so perfectly just minutes ago. You could feel the tension crackling in the air like lightning before a storm. This is not a discussion between equals. This is a predator about to devour his prey. Herod stops pacing and turns to face the priest, his eyes blazing with a fury that could melt bronze. When he speaks, his voice is deadly quiet, more terrifying than any shout. 2 years, he says, each word dripping with venom. 2 years. A rival king has been living 6 miles from my palace for 2 years, and you who claim to know every jot and tittle of your precious scriptures, you said nothing. The chief priest's voice comes out measured. Your Majesty, the prophecies are complex. Many interpretations exist. We did not want to raise false hopes or create unnecessary disturbance in the kingdom. Unnecessary? Herod's voice explodes through the chamber like thunder, and you see the chief priest stiffen but maintain his composure. A star appears in the heavens bright enough to guide men from the east, and you call investigating that unnecessary? The king's face is purple with rage, spittle flying from his lips as he advances on the priest. Tell me, what exactly do you and your fellow scholars do all day? Sit in your comfortable chambers, counting your temple taxes, while the very God you claim to serve moves heaven and earth around you? The chief priest meets Herod's gaze with a calm that seems to infuriate the king even more. His weathered hands steady the scroll as he speaks. We are careful, Your Majesty. Many have claimed to be the Messiah. Many have raised false hopes among the people. We must be discerning, as the scriptures teach us. He unfurls the scroll slightly, his finger finding familiar words. As it is written in Samuel, for the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. We cannot judge by appearances alone. Discerning? Herod slams his fist on a nearby table, sending a golden cup crashing to the floor. The sound echoes like a death knell. Do you know what those foreign wise men told me? They have been following that star for over a year. A year. They traveled thousands of miles, crossed deserts and mountains, spent fortunes on this journey, all to worship a king you could not be bothered to walk 6 miles to investigate. The priest's face remains a mask of carefully controlled emotion, but you can see the flicker of something. Guilt? Fear? In his eyes? And what would you have us to do, Your Majesty? Create panic among the people? Disrupt the delicate balance we maintain with Rome? Rush to every stable where a child is born? Herod moves closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. The balance you maintain is built on sand, priest. While you play your political games, a king is growing who will shatter everything you have built. The chief priest shifts slightly, a movement that speaks volumes about decades of surviving political storms. Your Majesty, when we gathered today, we told you exactly what the scriptures say. His voice takes on the cadence of recitation. As it is written, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. He pauses, his finger tracing the words on the parchment. And we answered truly, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Yes, Herod hisses. And what did I tell those foreign magicians? His eyes narrow dangerously. I said exactly what you would expect a king to say. Go and search carefully for the young child, and when you have found him, bring back word to me that I may come and worship him also. The irony hangs in the air like poison, a false promise of worship that both men know will become a promise of death. The chief priest watches the king carefully, understanding growing in his eyes. And what would you have us do now, Your Majesty? Herod begins pacing again, his mind racing to implications that stretch far beyond this moment. He speaks almost prophetically, his words echoing questions that will be asked again in years to come. What is truth? What is truth when foreign magicians show more devotion to your God than you do? The chief priest's composure cracks slightly. Your Majesty. No, Herod cuts him off, his voice growing more dangerous. I will tell you what truth is. Truth is that you knew. Somewhere in your scholarly heart you suspected, but you were comfortable. You had your positions, your respect, your arrangements with Rome. with me. He stops pacing and stares directly at the chief priest. The last thing you wanted was a real Messiah disrupting your comfortable world. Better to let sleeping prophecies lie than risk your political survival. The chief priest straightens, and for a moment, his diplomatic mask slips, revealing something harder underneath. We serve the people of Israel, Your Majesty. We serve the temple. You serve yourselves. Herod snarls. Just as your descendants will 30 years from now when this child grows to manhood. They will stand before another ruler and shout the same words you're thinking now. We have no king but Caesar, because earthly power is all you really understand. The room grows silent, heavy with the weight of prophecy and the certainty of coming violence. You can feel the future pressing down on this moment. The same religious leaders who missed the Messiah's birth will one day demand his crucifixion. Herod's voice becomes deadly calm. Every male child in Bethlehem, 2 years old and under, will die. Their blood will wash away this threat you were too comfortable to notice. The chief priest's composure finally breaks completely. Your Majesty, surely there must be another way. Another way? Herod explodes. There was another way. You could have been watching. You could have been seeking. You could have remembered that your God looks at hearts, not appearances, and realized that he might choose a carpenter's son over a king's palace. The chief priest's shoulders sag under the weight of his failure. The family. They seemed so ordinary. Joseph of Nazareth, a carpenter. Mary, his wife. They registered for the census like everyone else. Ordinary? Herod repeats, his voice dripping with contempt. The Messiah your prophets promised, and when he arrives, you dismiss him as ordinary? Do you know what this tells me about your faith, priest? It tells me you never really believed your own scriptures. He moves to the brazier, staring into the flames as if seeing visions of destruction there. You studied about God but forgot how to seek God. You became experts in the law but strangers to the lawgiver. You knew the prophecies by heart, but the prophecies never touched your hearts. The chief priest tries one last time to find solid ground. What would you have us do? Rush to every birth? Investigate every family? Herod turns back to him, his eyes cold as winter. I would have had you remember that the same God who chose David from among his brothers, the youngest, the forgotten shepherd boy, might choose to work in ways that do not fit your expectations. The silence stretches like a bowstring, and you can hear the chief priest's labored breathing. I can feel his terror and guilt like living things in the room. Get out of my sight, Herod says finally, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Go back to your temple, to your scrolls, to your comfortable blindness. But remember this, every child who dies at Bethlehem dies because you failed to seek the God you claim to serve. The chief priest backs toward the door, his face a mask of horror and dawning comprehension. Your Majesty, we never intended... Intentions? Herod snarls. The road to hell is paved with the intentions of comfortable priests who mistake their position for their purpose. As the priest reaches the door, Herod calls out one last time. And, chief priest, if I discover you have warned anyone in Bethlehem, if word of my plans reaches that family, I will make sure you join those children in death. Do you understand me?" The priest nods frantically and flees, leaving you alone with the king and his rage. Herod stands staring into the fire, and you can see his mind working, planning the horror that's about to unfold. This is what happens when earthly power discovers it has been outmaneuvered by heaven. When human pride realizes it has been blind to divine movement happening right under its nose. "A carpenter's son," he mutters to himself, his voice barely audible above the crackling flames. "Living 6 miles away for 2 years, and I never knew. My spies, my informants, my network of fear, and a child slipped through it all." He laughs, but there is no humor in it. Only the bitter sound of a man who has realized his power has limits he never imagined. 4 wise men following a star while my own priests count their temple coins. What does that say about the kingdom I have built? The brazier flickers, casting dancing shadows on the walls that seem to writhe with malevolent life. But not for long, he whispers to the flames. Not for long. You realize you have just witnessed the moment when earthly power, confronted with its own blindness, chooses massacre over repentance, violence over humility, murder over worship. The same religious complacency that missed the Messiah's birth will one day demand his death. The same political calculations that dismiss divine movement will eventually crucify divine love. Tomorrow, Bethlehem will weep. Tonight, a king rages in his chamber while the very stones cry out against the evil that is about to be unleashed. And somewhere in the darkness, the same God who looks at hearts rather than appearances is already preparing the way of escape for the child these earthly powers seek to destroy. The contrast is heartbreaking and infuriating all at once. And you feel tears of rage and sorrow burning your eyes as you realize what you have just witnessed. The death of faith, the murder of wonder, the transformation of holy calling into political position. Now Herod leans forward on his throne, and the temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. His calculating eyes fix on the 3 Magi like a hawk studying field mice, like a spider watching flies struggle in its web. The throne room suddenly feels smaller, more oppressive, as if the very walls are closing in. The air grows thick with unspoken threats, with the weight of royal displeasure, with the sense that you have stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple audience with a king. The golden menorahs seem to flicker, their flames bending away from Herod as if even fire recoils from his presence. The shadows they cast dance across his face, making his expression even more sinister, transforming his features into something that belongs in nightmares rather than throne rooms. Bethlehem, he says softly, and the word sounds like a death sentence, like the name of a graveyard where his enemies will soon rest. So close, so very close to Jerusalem. His fingers drum against the throne's armrest in that nervous rhythm, and you could almost hear his thoughts. A rival king, practically on his doorstep, growing stronger every day he remains alive, gathering followers who might one day march on this very palace. Tell me, Herod continues, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, forcing everyone in the room to lean forward to hear, making you all complicit in whatever evil he is about to unleash. When exactly did this star appear to you? And here, in this moment that will haunt you for the rest of your life, you witness the innocence that will be the three Magi's salvation and nearly their destruction. Melchior answers honestly, too honestly, with the guileless transparency of a man who has spent his life seeking truth and assumes others do the same. He tells Herod everything: the timing of the star's appearance, the signs they witnessed in the heavens, the calculations they made to determine its meaning, the journey they took across desert and mountain to follow its light. Every detail that a wise man would keep to himself, every piece of information that a suspicious king could use to calculate the age of his rival, to determine how much time he has before this threat becomes too powerful to eliminate. Feel your stomach churning with horror as you realize what is happening. Watch Balthazar's face as understanding begins to dawn like a terrible sunrise. See how his eyes widen slightly as pieces fall into place in his mind, as the full scope of their mistake becomes clear. Feel that chill running down your spine as the Holy Spirit's warning grows from a whisper to a shout. Even though your conscious mind has not yet processed the full extent of the danger. This is not worship. This is reconnaissance. Herod is not planning to honor this newborn king. He is planning to eliminate him. And he is using the Magi's own honesty as the weapon to do it. Herod's smile returns, broader now, more terrible than his frown ever was. It is the smile of a man who has just solved a problem, who has just figured out how to eliminate a threat before it can grow strong enough to challenge him. It is the smile he wore when he ordered the execution of his own sons, when he eliminated his wife, when he removed anyone who dared to question his authority or threaten his crown. How wonderful, he says, rising from his throne with the fluid grace of a predator who has spotted wounded prey. His robes flow around him like spilled blood, purple and gold catching the lamplight and throwing it back in patterns that seem to writhe and twist like living things. How providential that you should come to me with this news. He begins to pace, and you can see his mind working, calculating, planning. Every step is measured, every gesture controlled, every movement designed to intimidate and dominate. This is a man who has survived in power for 3 decades by being smarter, more ruthless, more paranoid than his enemies, and you are watching him at the height of his terrible powers. Go to Bethlehem, he commands. And now his voice carries the full weight of royal authority, the power of life and death, the promise of consequences that extend far beyond your own lives. Search carefully for this young child. Leave no stone unturned, no house unvisited, no family unquestioned. He pauses directly in front of the 3 Magi, close enough that they can smell the expensive oils in his beard, can see the calculation in his eyes, and can feel the menace radiating from him like heat from a forge. Close enough that you can see the madness lurking behind his royal facade, the paranoia that has consumed his soul like a cancer. And when you have found him, The pause stretches like eternity, like the moment between lightning and thunder, like the silence before a sword falls, like the last breath before death claims its victim. Bring back word to me, that I may come and worship him also. The words hang in the air like incense, but they smell of death. They sound like worship, but they taste like murder. They carry the tone of reverence, but they drip with the promise of infanticide, with the certainty of slaughter, with the guarantee that innocent blood will flow like water through Bethlehem's streets. Worship. From a man whose worship is demanded at sword point, whose altars are built on the bones of his enemies, whose prayers are threats and whose blessings are curses. Worship from a king who has never bowed to anyone, who sees every rival as a threat to be eliminated, who would kill his own mother if she threatened his crown. You have just witnessed the same lie that will echo 30 years later, when another ruler will claim to find no fault in Jesus while condemning him to death. The same political calculation, the same false justice, the same earthly power feeling threatened by heavenly authority and responding with violence disguised as righteousness. The three Magi bow respectfully. They have no choice. Surrounded as they are by guards whose hands rest on sword hilts, watched by spies whose eyes catalog every expression, every gesture, every sign of defiance or submission. But you can see the tension in their shoulders, the way their hands tremble slightly as they realize the trap they have walked into, the web of deception they have become entangled in. They came seeking truth and found deception. They came offering worship and discovered a king who demanded it. They came following God's star and found themselves in the presence of evil wearing a crown, malice dressed in purple robes, death seated on a throne of gold. Caspar's voice is steady, but you can hear the strain underneath, the effort it takes to keep his words level when every instinct screams at him to run. We are honored by your Majesty's interest. We will certainly bring word of what we find. But even as he speaks the words, you can see in his eyes that he is already planning how to avoid keeping that promise, already calculating routes that do not lead back to this palace of death, already praying for divine intervention to save them from the consequences of their own honesty. Herod nods graciously, but his eyes never leave their faces, cataloging every expression, every micro emotion, every sign that might indicate deception or rebellion. Excellent. I shall await your return with great anticipation. The word anticipation sounds like a threat, like a promise of torture, like the whisper of a blade being drawn from its sheath. Guards, Herod continues, his voice carrying the casual authority of a man who has ordered countless deaths. Escort our distinguished guests to the gates. See that they have everything they need for their journey. The guards step forward, and you feel your blood turn to ice as you realize these are not escorts. They are watchers, men whose job is to ensure the three Magi actually leave the city, actually go to Bethlehem, and actually carry out their unwitting mission of betrayal. As you leave the throne room, your footsteps echoing in the marble halls like the countdown to an execution, you carry with you the weight of terrible knowledge. Behind you sits a king who rules through fear, who maintains power through violence, who is threatened by the very thought of a baby born in an obscure village 6 miles away. The corridors seem longer now, more oppressive, as if the very architecture is designed to crush hope and break spirits. The statues leer at you with marble eyes that seem to follow your movement. The tapestries seem to writhe with malevolent life. The golden surfaces reflect your faces back at you like accusations. Courtiers watch you pass with the calculating gaze of vultures, already wondering if you will survive whatever mission Herod has sent you on, already positioning themselves to benefit from your downfall if it comes. Servants scurry past with their eyes downcast, having learned that witnessing the wrong conversation can be fatal in a court where paranoia rules and trust is a luxury no one can afford. The guards march beside you with military precision, their armor clinking with each step, their presence a constant reminder that you are not free, that you are being watched, that any attempt to flee or deviate from your assigned path will be met with swift and brutal consequences. Feel your heart hammering as you pass through corridor after corridor, each one bringing you closer to the gates, but no closer to safety. The palace seems designed to disorient, to confuse, to make escape impossible for anyone who does not know its secrets. Every turn could lead to freedom, or to a dead end where guards wait with drawn swords. Finally, after what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes, you see them. The bronze gates that mark the boundary between Herod's domain and the outside world. But even here, even at the threshold of escape, you are not safe. More guards wait by the gates, their eyes scanning your faces, memorizing your features, ensuring they will recognize you if you try to return by stealth or if you fail to carry out your mission. The king's blessing upon your journey, one of the guards says, but the words sound like a curse, like a promise that Herod's reach extends far beyond these walls, that his power follows you wherever you go. The gates swing open with that same groaning sound you heard when you entered, but now it sounds like the gates of hell opening to release demons into the world. The afternoon sun, which should feel warm and welcoming after the cold marble of the palace, seems harsh and unforgiving, as if even the light has been corrupted by what you have witnessed. Your camels wait where you left them, but they seem different now. Not noble steeds carrying you on a holy mission, but potential instruments of betrayal. Beasts that will carry you to Bethlehem, where your innocent questions could lead to the death of the very child you have traveled so far to worship. Melchior's hands shake as he grasps his camel's reins, and you can see the weight of realization crushing down on him like a physical burden. Caspar moves like a man in a dream, his diplomat's composure cracking under the strain of what he has just experienced. Balthazar looks back at the palace with eyes full of horror, as if he is seeing it clearly for the first time. Not a seat of power, but a monument to evil. Not a palace, but a tomb where souls go to die. As you mount your camels and prepare to leave Jerusalem, you feel the eyes of Herod's spies watching you from windows, from rooftops, from shadowed doorways. The city that should have been celebrating the birth of its Messiah instead feels like a prison, a place where joy has been murdered and hope has been buried beneath layers of fear and oppression. The star still shines above you, brighter now in the gathering dusk, but its light seems different. Not just a guide to worship, but a beacon of hope in a world that has chosen darkness, a promise that somewhere ahead lies truth in a world full of lies. love in a place ruled by hate. Behind you lies a palace built on marble and gold, but founded on lies and murder. Behind you sits a throne room where knowledge exists without wisdom, where power exists without love, where authority exists without righteousness. Ahead of you, somewhere in the small town of Bethlehem, waits another king, one who will rule through love, who will serve rather than demand service, who will be born in a stable and die on a cross, not because he threatened anyone, but because his very existence threatens everything built on lies. The contrast could not be clearer, and it will echo through the ages. In 30 years, that baby you are seeking will stand before another ruler, Pontius Pilate, who will ask the same question Herod is asking now. What shall I do with this king? Pilate will find no fault in Jesus, but condemn him anyway to appease the crowd. The religious leaders will once again choose earthly power over heavenly authority, shouting, "We have no king but Caesar." The same leaders who today know exactly where the Messiah was born, but could not be bothered to go see him. As your camels carry you through Jerusalem's narrow streets, away from the palace of deception and toward the gates of the city, you feel the Holy Spirit's warning growing stronger with every step. The very air seems to whisper danger, seems to carry the scent of coming violence, the promise of innocent blood that will soon stain Bethlehem's streets. But there is something else in that divine whisper. Protection. Even now, as you ride toward what could be your own destruction and the death of the child you have come to worship, you can feel God's hand guiding your steps, preparing a way of escape that you cannot yet see, orchestrating events that will save both of you and the newborn king from Herod's murderous plans. The city gates loom ahead, massive stone arches that have witnessed the passage of armies and pilgrims, of conquerors and refugees, of those seeking life and those fleeing death. As you pass beneath them, you leave behind the city that should have been celebrating, but chose fear instead. The religious leaders who knew the truth, but refused to act on it. The king who heard about the Messiah and immediately began planning murder. The road to Bethlehem stretches before you, dusty and worn by countless travelers, but somehow it's different now. You are no longer just following a star to worship a king. You are racing against time to reach him before Herod's soldiers do, carrying a warning you do not fully understand yet, participating in a divine rescue mission that will save the Savior of the world. Thank you for joining me tonight as we walked through the bronze gates of deception with three seekers whose innocent faith collided with the darkness of earthly power. I pray that you carry with you their example of courage when truth becomes dangerous, their wisdom when faced with those who would use your honesty against you, and their trust in God's protection, even when following His call leads you into the valley of the shadow of death. If this encounter with the palace of lies has opened your eyes to the contrast between earthly and heavenly kingdoms, take a moment to share it with someone who might need discernment for their own journey through a world that often mistakes power for righteousness. And be sure to join me next time as we continue walking alongside Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar from Herod's marble halls of menace into a humble home in Bethlehem, where they will discover that the greatest king in history does not rule from a throne of gold, but dwells in the hearts of those who welcome him with love. Until next time, may you find peace in the quiet, trust in God's call, and rest in His unchanging love. This is In the Field Audio Bible, where we listen to the Bible one chapter at a time. Coming up next on The Star, the Journey, and the Gift. Walk alongside Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar as they emerge from the suffocating darkness of Herod's palace into the freedom of open sky. We will feel their shoulders relax for the first time in days as Jerusalem's oppressive atmosphere lifts. Experience their overwhelming joy when their faithful celestial guide blazes back to life above them, and ride with them through 6 sacred miles of Judean hills where doubt transforms into divine confirmation. As we witness the star's supernatural guidance, leading them from the corruption of earthly power to the purity of Bethlehem, we discover that God's light never abandons his faithful servants. Even when we cannot see it, his guidance remains sure, and his promises always lead us home to worship at the feet of the King of Kings.